Imagine walking into a noisy Jewish deli in 1920s New York. Steam rising from pots, the smell of smoked meat filling the air, counters stacked with breads taller than your head. Behind the glass, sandwiches so enormous, so outrageous, they looked like edible skyscrapers. These weren't just meals, they were monuments of flavor. Today, most of them are gone, but once they defined the immigrant dream. By the end of this journey, you'll discover sandwiches so wild, so unexpected, you'll wonder how the world ever let them vanish. 1. The pastrami rye mountain, a deli giant. Forget the pastrami you know today. The original was piled until the rye bread nearly collapsed. Imagine layers of smoky, pepper-crusted pastrami stacked a foot high, dripping with mustard, topped with crunchy pickles wedged in like bricks. Some delis even added fried onions or a slab of schmaltz, chicken fat, for extra richness. Customers needed 2 hands, sometimes even a knife, just to conquer it. This was excess and survival in one bite. And yet, the deli counters that built this legend are nearly gone. But wait until you see what happened when they turned fish into a sandwich. 2. The gefilte fish tower, from holiday to street. Gefilte fish was never meant to be handheld, until deli owners decided to push limits. They pressed patties of poached carp and pike, layered them with horseradish cream, and stacked them between onion rolls. It was slippery, strange, and shockingly addictive. Street vendors in the Lower East Side wrapped them in paper so workers could eat them on the go. Imagine the contrast: sweet fish, fiery horseradish, and soft bread fusing into something bizarre yet irresistible. As the years passed, this daring creation disappeared. But the next one? It took humble chicken scraps and turned them into pure indulgence. 3. The schmaltz and onion roll, liquid gold between bread schmaltz, rendered chicken fat, was considered liquid gold in Jewish kitchens. Some delis spread it thick on onion rolls, piled caramelized onions on top, and sprinkled it with crisp chicken skins called gribeens. The result? A sandwich that dripped down your hands, rich and savory beyond belief. Workers swore it gave them strength, while children loved the crunch of gribeens like edible jewels. Today, most people have forgotten the taste of schmaltz, but this sandwich once defined deli decadence. And just when you think that's indulgent, the next creation will make you question if dessert and sandwich can ever truly be one. 4. The sweet noodle kugel stack. Dessert disguised as a sandwich kugel, the sweet noodle casserole baked with raisins, cinnamon, and sugar, was a Sabbath classic. But in some delis, kugel slices were pressed between egg bread, topped with a smear of cream cheese and dusted with powdered sugar. The result? A sandwich that was part cake, part pasta, and completely over the top. Imagine biting into sweet noodles held together by warm bread. It sounded absurd, but it became a guilty pleasure. Parents frowned, kids begged, and deli owners laughed as they sold out by noon. But hold on, the next sandwich wasn't sweet. It was bold, smoky, and could only be eaten with a glass of seltzer in hand. 5. The tongue and mustard rye, bold, rich, and nearly lost pickled beef tongue, was once the crown jewel of deli counters, sliced thin, stacked high, and layered with spicy deli mustard on rye. It created a sandwich so bold that only the brave ordered it. The texture was tender yet meaty, the flavor deep and savory. Old-timers swore by it, saying it put strength in your bones. But as younger generations craved simpler flavors, the tongue sandwich disappeared from menus. Today, it's a rarity, whispered about like a deli ghost. And yet, compared to what came next, even tongue felt tame, because the following sandwich turned a simple breakfast into a deli spectacle. 6. The salami and egg explosion, breakfast gone wild. Picture this: thick slices of garlicky Jewish salami sizzling on the griddle, topped with scrambled eggs, then stuffed into a challah roll until it overflowed. The salami and egg explosion was messy, salty, and perfect for hungry workers grabbing breakfast on the go. The grease soaked into the bread, the egg spilled out with every bite, and the smell filled the entire block. Deli served it with black coffee and a pickle on the side, creating a strange but beloved morning ritual. But as time passed, breakfast chains took over, and this deli original faded away. Still, what's coming up next will make even this greasy giant look modest. 7. The pickled herring delight, a taste of the old world. For Jewish immigrants fresh off the boat, pickled herring was comfort. It tasted like home. Delis transformed it into a handheld oddity. Slices of briny herring layered with sour cream, onions, and cucumbers, all stuffed into dark rye bread. The smell was sharp, the flavor electric, and it wasn't for everyone. Yet, for those who dared, it was unforgettable. Wrapped in wax paper, this sandwich fueled long days in the garment district. Today, it's almost impossible to find, but once, it was a symbol of survival and memory. But wait, the next sandwich wasn't just about memory. It was about identity, crafted from the humblest ingredients with unexpected richness. 8. The chopped liver overload, creamy meats crunch. Chopped liver was once the beating heart of every deli counter, but the sandwich version took it to the extreme. Imagine soft challah bread spread thick with creamy chopped liver, topped with sliced hard-boiled eggs, caramelized onions, and even crispy green beans for crunch. It was rich, indulgent, and unapologetically heavy. Customers joked it was a sandwich that came with its own heart attack warning, but in truth, it was comfort food at its finest. Family, tradition, and taste rolled into one bite. Still, as diets changed and health fads grew, this creation slipped away. And just when you think you've seen deli excess, the next sandwich will completely flip expectations. 9. The Green Special, crispy chicken skins on bread beans, crispy fried chicken skins, were a treasured treat, made while rendering schmaltz. Some delis turned them into a full sandwich, layering the golden, crunchy pieces on bread with onions and mustard. It was salty, crackly, and unlike anything else. A true poor man's delicacy turned into a deli indulgence. Kids would sneak bites, elders savored it slowly, and everyone agreed it was addictively good. Today, you'd struggle to find it outside of old family kitchens, but at its peak, it was as beloved as pastrami. And yet, the next sandwich took deli daring even further, blending cultures in ways no one expected. 10. The Whitefish Salad Supreme, Sunday brunch on bread. Whitefish salad was a deli staple, creamy and smoky, usually eaten with bagels. But in the 1930s, some delis pushed it further, turning it into the Whitefish Salad Supreme sandwich. Picture a thick layer of whitefish salad piled high, then topped with cucumber slices, fresh dill, and a squeeze of lemon, all between two slices of dark rye. It was elegant yet filling, the kind of sandwich that made brunch feel like a feast. Families lined up after synagogue to grab one, wrapped in paper and dripping with flavor. Today, it's reduced to a spread, but once, it was a tower of indulgence. And yet, the next sandwich took a humble grain and turned it into something spectacular. 11. The kasha kanishwich, buckwheat in disguise. Kasha kaishes, dough filled with buckwheat, were classic Jewish comfort food. But some creative deli owners thought, why stop there? They sliced open a giant niche, stuffed it with pastrami or pickles, and served it as a full kasha nishwich. It was carb stacked on carb, heavy but comforting, the kind of sandwich that sat in your stomach all day like a warm blanket. Workers loved it because it was cheap and filling, and delis loved it because it was unforgettable. Sadly, this quirky creation vanished, replaced by lighter meals. But hold on, the next sandwich might just be the most iconic rye creation you've never heard of. 12. The Onion Roll Corned Beef Monster, a deli legend. Corned beef was already a deli classic, but when paired with onion rolls, it became magic. The onion roll corned beef monster wasn't small. It was stacked so high with salty, tender corned beef that the onion-studded roll could barely contain it. Add a smear of mustard, maybe some sauerkraut, and suddenly you had a sandwich that smelled of steam, spice, and history. Customers swore it was the true taste of New York. But as giant deli counters began to close, so too did this monster fade away. And what comes next? A sandwich so unusual, it blurred the line between tradition and shock value. 13. The pickled knuckle. Sandwich, strength in every bite. In the early 1900s, nothing went to waste. Even beef knuckles, tough joints full of cartilage, were simmered, pickled, and sliced thin. Delis stacked them on rye with sharp mustard, turning scraps into the pickled knuckle sandwich. It was chewy, tangy, and deeply satisfying, a working man's protein boost that cost pennies but fueled hours of labor. Some said the gelatinous texture made it feel medicinal, like strength itself between bread. But over time, as tastes grew refined, this sandwich became a relic. Still, it stood as proof that deli food was never afraid of the unexpected. And the next, it blurred the line between drink and sandwich altogether. 14. The egg cream combo. Half drink, half sandwich egg creams, the fizzy chocolate milk seltzer concoctions, were already iconic in New York. But imagine this, delis pairing them with sandwiches designed to soak up sweetness. One infamous combo was a chocolate egg cream served alongside a marshmallow and peanut butter sandwich on challah bread. The foam of the drink, the sticky sweetness of the sandwich, it was childhood chaos in edible form. Teenagers loved it, parents rolled their eyes, and delis made a fortune. Today, egg creams remain, but the sandwich pairing has vanished into sugar-coated memory. And if that sounded strange, the next sandwich was pure brilliance, turning a holiday dish into deli rebellion. 15. The lox and latke sandwich. Crispy meat silky bagels with lox are timeless, but in the 1940s, some daring delis swapped the bagel for potato pancakes. Crispy latkes became the bread, while silky lox, sour cream, and chives were layered inside. The lox and latke sandwich was crunchy, creamy, smoky, and unforgettable. It was indulgence on a plate, so rich that one sandwich could feed two. Served during Hanukkah feasts, it was both celebratory and rebellious, breaking tradition while making something new. Sadly, it proved too messy and heavy to survive. But compared to what's next, even a latke sandwich feels ordinary, because the following creation might be the most outrageous meat stack ever attempted. 16. The triple-decker deli beast, bigger than your head. If one layer of meat was satisfying, 3 layers were insanity. The triple-decker deli beast towered with pastrami, corned beef, and roast turkey, stacked between rye bread and glued together with mustard, Russian dressing, and slices of Swiss cheese. Add coleslaw spilling out the sides, and the sandwich looked less like lunch and more like a skyscraper. Customers joked you needed an engineering degree to eat it without collapse. For a while, it was the crown jewel of deli bravado. But eventually, portion sizes shrank, appetites changed, and this beast became a forgotten myth. Yet the next sandwich wasn't about size. It was about daring to turn sweet tradition into savory rebellion. 17. The sweet noodle kugel. Reuben, a deli rebellion. What happens when you replace rye bread in a Reuben with slices of sweet kugel? Chaos, brilliance, and a sugar rush. This short-lived invention stacked corned beef, sauerkraut, and Russian dressing between 2 slabs of noodle kugel baked with raisins and cinnamon. The sweet noodle kugel. Reuben was equal parts shocking and delicious, the tang of sauerkraut clashing with the sweetness of kugel in every bite. It was polarizing. Some customers adored it, others thought it was deli blasphemy. but that tension made it unforgettable. Sadly, it didn't last long on menus, but its story proves delis never feared experimentation. And if that wasn't enough, the next creation doubled down on decadence by mixing crispy with smoky. 18. The Grey Beans and Pastrami Mashup, Pure Indulgence. Grey beans, crispy chicken skins were already indulgent. Pastrami was already legendary. But one deli decided to fuse them, layering smoky pastrami with handfuls of grey beans inside a sesame roll. The grey beans and pastrami mashup dripped with schmaltz, pepper, and spice, crunch and chew battling in every mouthful. It was so rich that some customers couldn't finish half, while others bragged about conquering the entire monster. Today, it's unheard of, but in its prime, it was a deli dare, a challenge to appetite itself. Still, the next sandwich may be even stranger because it took leftovers from Sabbath and turned them into pure sandwich alchemy. 19. The Sabbath leftover sandwich. Nothing wasted. After Sabbath meals, tables overflowed with half-finished brisket, kugel, roasted vegetables, and challah. Some delis turned this abundance into the Sabbath leftover sandwich, a chaotic stack of everything between two slices of bread. One bite might be sweet kugel, the next salty brisket, followed by carrots glazed with honey. It was unpredictable, messy, and oddly comforting. Families loved it because nothing went to waste. Kids adored it because every bite was a surprise. Today, leftovers are rarely celebrated this way, but once, this sandwich turned recycling into indulgence. And yet, the next creation went even further, pulling a surprise straight out of the water. 20. The Carp Surprise. Holiday feast on rye carp was a centerpiece of Jewish holiday cooking, especially for Hanukkah. But in the 1920s, some delis turned holiday leftovers into the Carp Surprise sandwich. Chunks of fried carp were stuffed into rye bread with sour cream, horseradish, and pickled beets. The result was colorful, tangy, and deeply filling. A holiday feast disguised as lunch. But it was also divisive. Some adored its richness, others avoided it completely. Eventually, it faded from menus, but those who tried it swore it was unforgettable. Still, the next sandwich proved that even a soup could be transformed into handheld deli magic. 21. The Borscht Beet Creation, soup between bread borscht, the beet soup beloved across Eastern Europe, wasn't meant to be eaten on the go. Yet delis in the Lower East Side tried anyway, creating the Borscht Beet Creation. Beets were roasted, mashed, and spread on rye with sour cream, garlic, and fresh dill. The flavor was earthy, tangy, and vibrant pink, so bright it stained the bread in the eater's hands. Customers joked it was a soup sandwich, and for a time, it caught on as a quirky novelty. But as trends shifted, it disappeared, leaving behind only stories of bright red hands and bold flavors. And if you thought beets were unusual, wait until you see the final creations. They were pure deli madness. 22. The Pickle and Sour Cream Oddity, childhood snack on bread. Sometimes, the simplest things made the boldest memories. Kids in Jewish neighborhoods once grabbed slices of rye, spread on sour cream, and stacked whole pickles inside. The Pickle and Sour Cream Oddity was crunchy, tangy, and creamy all at once. It wasn't fancy, but it was a quick treat after school, and for many children, the taste of home. Over time, snacks became sweeter, pickles became side dishes, and this strange sandwich faded into memory. Still, it shows how creativity thrived even in simplicity. But just ahead is something far more indulgent, a sandwich so luxurious it could only exist in its time. 23. The matzo meal sandwich, breadless survival. During Passover, when bread was forbidden, families found creative workarounds. One forgotten invention was the matzo meal sandwich. Sheets of matzo spread with schmaltz or layered with cheese, onions, and sometimes even brisket. It was brittle. It cracked with every bite, but it carried deep meaning. Eating it wasn't just about flavor, it was about faith, survival, and continuity. Delis briefly served them as novelty items, but they soon vanished. And yet, compared to the next creation, even matzo felt ordinary, because what came next was a tower of extravagance. 24. The Deli Triple-Decker Deluxe, too big to believe. If the regular Deli Triple-Decker was large, this one was outrageous. The Deli Triple-Decker Deluxe stacked pastrami, corned beef, roast turkey, and salami into a three-tiered tower dripping with Russian dressing and piled high with sauerkraut. Customers joked it could feed a family of 4 or topple over and crush you before you finished. It was deli excess at its peak, a symbol of abundance in immigrant communities that once knew only scarcity. Today, it's remembered only in photographs and fading stories. But if you thought this was the climax, the final sandwich proves delis could be playful, strange, and unforgettable. 25. The kugel and cream cheese sweet stack, dessert disguised. Again, to end with sweetness, some delis offered the kugel and cream cheese sweet stack. Thick slices of sweet noodle kugel layered with cream cheese frosting and dusted with cinnamon sugar, pressed into challah bread like a dessert sandwich. It was absurd, decadent, and more like cake than lunch. Families treated it as a reward for children or a guilty pleasure for adults with a sweet tooth. Today, it's vanished completely, but it symbolizes the playful side of Jewish delis, where even dessert could be turned into a sandwich. From towering pastrami monsters to slippery gefilte fish creations, from crispy gribine stacks to kugel desserts in disguise, these 25 forgotten Jewish deli sandwiches weren't just food. They were history, survival, and celebration layered between bread. They remind us that Jewish delis were more than eateries. They were cultural theaters, stages where flavors told the story of identity, migration, and joy. Most of these sandwiches are gone now, but maybe it's time to bring a few back. Tell me, which of these outrageous deli sandwiches would you try first?